I just wanted to put a little context to what's going on these last 19 days at the Lane County Jail. Prisoners have been agents of advocating for institutional change and for their own welfare for decades. Their activism takes many forms: advocacy organizations inside, petitions, work strikes, lawsuits, hunger strikes, and the publicizing of grievances to outside groups. In 1970 was the Folsom Prison Strike, where over 2,000 prisoners refused to stand for count or to leave their cells. They said they were beaten and had their cells emptied and were left without water in summer heat. Visits were terminated, and supporters criticized the media for not covering the story. They demanded legal representation, adequate medical care, limits on solitary confinement, an end to racial and political persecution in prisons, and the right to unionize, among other basic rights. In short, they demanded fair and humane treatment while in state custody. They demanded what we all want for ourselves and for those we care about. The following year, 1971, an uprising took place at Attica Correctional Facility in upstate New York. It led to a 4-day siege, much of which was covered live by national television news crews. After state troopers retook the prison, 43 people were dead. 29 prisoners and 9 correctional officers were killed by state troopers during the retaking of the prison. The publicizing of the prisoners' demands, combined with the force of the raid on the prison and the loss of life, swayed public opinion toward prison reform. In 1974, inmates filed a lawsuit alleging retaliatory mistreatment following the uprising. In 2000, that's 26 years later, New York State finally settled for $8 million. At Attica, prisoners also demanded fair and humane treatment. In short, what we all want for ourselves and for those we care about. In 1975, there was a protest at the North Carolina Correctional Center for Women, an initially nonviolent protest against poor medical facilities, punitive segregation, work policies, and guard violence. While occupying the yard, guards moved in and prisoners fought back and held the yard for a week during negotiations with prison officials. In 1995 was the October Rebellion. 50 demonstrations across the federal correctional system, from Allowin, Pennsylvania to Lompoc, California, from Marianna, Florida to Sheridan, Oregon. The protests targeted federal sentencing guidelines that created disproportionate sentencing for different forms of cocaine, as well as protesting the passage of the 1994 Clinton crime bill. That was 95. In 2003, 30,000 prisoners in California went on hunger strike, refusing meals to protest the use of solitary confinement. In 2015, as a result of Ashker versus Governor of California, the use of solitary confinement in California has been reduced, and its indeterminate use ended. It's worth noting that the end of indeterminate solitary confinement was a demand of the Folsom prison strike in 1970. In 2016, there was a national prison work strike, and over 20,000 prisoners in around 20 states refused to show up for work to protest working conditions, pay issues, and mass incarceration. This coincided with the 45th anniversary of the Attica Uprising. The following year, 2017, was the Vaughan Rebellion in Delaware, protesting a number of prison conditions. Delaware prisoners took 5 guards hostage. 1 died during the rebellion. This coincided with the 152nd anniversary of President Lincoln's signing of the 13th Amendment, which outlawed slavery except as punishment for a crime where one has been duly convicted. In 2018, 2 years ago, there was another nationwide prison strike. Prisoners demanded an end to racial discrimination in the criminal legal system and demanded more access to rehabilitation. Their first demand was simply immediate improvements to the conditions of prisons and prison policies that recognize the humanity of imprisoned men and women. Once again, prisoners have demanded fair and humane treatment, what we all want for ourselves and for those we care about. If you didn't hear about some of these protests in U.S. prisons, That is not an accident. The media mostly ignores protests in prisons and jails. And so the success depends on family members and supporters on the outside, making sure that the voices from inside are heard. So it's great that you're here, and I hope that you will follow, what was it, Mutual Aid? Lane County Mutual Aid page on Facebook and Instagram to keep up with what's going on. That's all I have here. But I just wanted to give you some perspective. And again, most of us don't care about these, right? 50 prisons across the nation, the federal prison system, 1985. There was one article in the national press on that. It was a very small piece by CNN. And so help bring attention to this, publicize it to the best of your ability on social media, and thank you for being here today.